Head on stage in Annapolis right before your show. Albert, thanks a lot for taking a few minutes.
My pleasure. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, how's the tour going so far?
It's great. This is just a little weekend run, so we have a blast anytime. Anytime I have a guitar in my hands, I'm good to go.
You having fun?
Yeah.
How was the show last night? You were in D.C.?
It was awesome. Awesome. Beautiful room.
Good crowd?
Great. Yeah, great crowd. It was just the shows you like, you know. I like all the shows.
Have you played here before?
Yeah, we played here a lot over the years, but I don't know, we haven't been here in 6 or 8 months or something like that.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the show tonight. I haven't seen you live.
Well, tonight's that. You won't be able to say that anymore.
Yeah. Tell me about the new album, or the relatively new album, No Regrets.
Well, No Regrets is, like 2 years old now.
Yeah.
And we got a new one coming out in July. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, no, what's the name?
It's called Someone Like You.
Cool.
And it's, I think it's the greatest thing I've ever done. I mean, I'm so excited about this album. It's on Blind Pig. And it should be out, I don't know if it's mid-July or towards the end of July, but it's in July. And I recorded it in Los Angeles. And I just had the most amazing time. We did the whole thing live. And David Z's the producer.
Mm-hmm.
And David put together an amazing team of guys, studio musicians out there. They're just second to none. And we just gelled like we'd been playing together forever. And literally cut the whole album in like 3 days. It was
Really?
just done. And it's like, you listen to it, it's just like, and what's cool about it is the first time I've ever played these songs. Because I basically sent out ideas. That's how you always do anyways, but I send out ideas, and like, you know, I play them in the studio for the guys on an acoustic, and we talk about what we want to do with them, and we go in the studio and cut them. That's what it was. There was no, nothing.
Old school recording.
Well, old school, they'd at least rehearse a little bit so they knew what they were doing, you know, but we went and just cut it live, and like, you know, it's just like, I don't know, it was just worked. It was just something that worked really well, and Jimmy Vivino joined me on the record too for 3 songs, and I mean, he added so much to it, and I don't know, I'm really excited. I just can't wait to see what happens to this record. Yeah, this thing's, I'm really excited about this album.
Are you playing any of the songs from the new album?
I probably won't start playing too many until we get closer to release a little bit, but I probably will sneak a couple in, you know, just to start learning them myself.
Can you throw out a couple names so I know what they are when I hear them?
Yeah, I don't know which ones I'll do. I'll probably, maybe I'll do one called Make Up Your Mind. I don't know, maybe a song called Moving On. I don't know what I'll do.
Okay.
Know. I never use a set list, and I never think about what I'm playing. I always think if you're thinking, you're stinking. So to me, it's just like, I like to like let it come and not, you know, look down at some sheet and like, okay, guys, we're going to song number 3 now. You know, I can't stand that stuff. It's just like, wherever we go, and that's how we run, you know, until they tell us to get off stage.
You were kind of a late bloomer, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I just never had a gig till I was about 27, something like that. And I mean, I played guitar. I started when I was like 15 or 16, as soon as I was big enough to get my hand around one.
Did you start playing the banjo?
I did. I started playing 5-string banjo when I was 12. And that kind of cut my teeth, I think, and got my fingers to move, although I don't use anything from the banjo on the guitar. But I think it loosened my head up and my whole way of thinking, and it helped me. And it's a pretty complex instrument, the 5-string, when you're picking with your fingers. And I never could sing and play 5-string banjo. It was way too much coordination for me. There's guys that can do it, but I can't do it. Maybe I could now, but I don't play the banjo anymore.
And so you picked up the guitar?
Yeah, when I was like 15 or 16, I just learned a few chords. My father played guitar, but, you know, there'd always be a guitar out, but he'd never play it or anything. But he could try to help me, but he'd just kind of, you know, he'd show me something, and if I didn't learn it the first time, he'd be like, I already showed you that, you know, figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
The kind of, you know, it was that kind of, you know, you're on your own type of way, which really I think is the greatest thing in the world, because I just relied on myself for everything.
So who were your early guitar influences?
Well, the guy that really made me start playing guitar was Stevie Ray,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm sure there's a lot of guitarists that can say that same thing, but my dad played kind of like big band era stuff, you know, and Orchestra and Stardust and Moonlight in Vermont, all those great songs, you know, and I was always inspired by the music, you know, and he had a band before I was even born. I never got to see his little band, but they'd get together on special occasions or a party or something. They'd all just mess around. They'd have fun. And I always loved, you know, something always bit me with that. So I got interested in the banjo because I could fit my hand around the neck basically at that time. I mean, now there's half scales and 3/4 scales and everything for young kids. It's great, you know.
Right.
But I didn't have that, so I just started learning. And then my brother-in-law at the time was, you know, kind of a fool-around guitar player type of guy too. And he'd give me these tapes. He's like, listen to this guy, and be like, you know, Brian Setzer and Stray Cats and stuff like that. And trying to think of some of the other stuff he used to give me, like David Bromberg and, you know, like, I don't know, a whole bunch of people. But once he gives me this CD, it was Texas Flood. It was a tape back then. He gave me a cassette tape. And I was like, here, listen to this guy. And I heard it, and I was like, that's got to be fake. Nobody can play like that. I mean, I've never heard or seen anything like that, you know. And I was like this little bumpkin from Williamstown, you know, a little country kid. And I'd hear that, and I used to have a 3-wheeler, and I put back then it was probably like a Sony Walkman, you know, it was like high tech.
Yeah.
I'd put that on, I'd ride around my 3-wheeler or whatever, or do whatever, and I'd be listening to Stevie Ray. And never really, you know, played much with the guitar, did anything. Just learned a little bit, and just really fooled around with it, but never really did anything. And then I went to school in Boston, and I was walking down the street one day, and like just this big tour bus out front of this. It was the Orpheum Theater. Big tour bus out front, and it had a Gibson Les Paul and a Fender Strat crossed on the side of it. And I was like, oh, I wonder who this is. I mean, what is this? I had interest in guitar, but nothing, you know. And I went and read the marquee. It said Stevie Ray Vaughan, Double Trouble. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the guy. That's the guy. I want to go see him. And so I went back to my, you know, roommates, and typical, even Stevie Ray, he was like, anybody want to go see this guy? You know, this great blues guitar guy. You know, no, nobody wants to go. Nobody wanted to go. I'm like, all right. So I went by myself, and I sat in this theater, and Stevie comes out with a headdress on, a whole big Indian headdress, and like, it's like, what is this? And he just started ripping all night long. You know what I mean? I remember him throwing the guitar up in the air, and like, you know, it's twisting, and he catches it on the way down, hits it and plays it, throws it on the floor. He's playing it with his boots. He's just kicking it and beating it. It was just like, yeah, that's it. I remember, like, I mean, I was just sitting there going like this, as everybody else was. And I remember walking out that night, and that was literally the last time I ever touched a banjo. I mean, I picked it up since then, but so I was like 19 when that happened. And about 26, 27, I started to, like, you know, started messing around with guitar a little bit more, and I was like, I'm like, you know, I want to learn something about this. So I started to study Stevie a little bit, and I never try to learn anybody's stuff and play anything. I can't play any Stevie stuff, and people compare me to that all the time, but I can't. I wouldn't even be able to carry his guitar case, you know. And it's like, I like, you know, everything I do, I kind of analyze everything, try to think about the whole other side of it. So I'm like, well, I wonder who influenced him, you know, the first, you know. So I started to go, like, I always say he opened the door for me, and then I walked into the, you know, this hallway, and like, you know, the first doorway is Albert King, you know what I mean? It's like this big long dressing room of people down this hall.
Yep.
And you open, I mean, that's Stevie, and then you start hearing all the Albert King stuff, and you're like, that wasn't Stevie's notes. I mean, the stuff he played on David Bowie, you know what I mean? Stevie played it so well, and but Stevie can play everybody's stuff exactly, sound exactly like him. He had to pick intonation, everything, perfectly. But he could always be Stevie, you know? A lot of guys, you know, they can mock somebody, and they say, oh, this sounds just like Albert Collins, you know, big deal. But they don't have their own style. So I always wanted my own style, and I just, like, I'd listen to these guys, and I'd kind of, like, take what they had, and then, you know. So when I was 27, a friend of mine got married, right? So I go to the wedding, and all my buddies are like, there was a band from New York City. I don't remember the name of the band, but my friends are like, hey, why don't you get up and play with the band? I'm like, no, I can't. I've never done that before. I don't know anything how to do that, you know. And so they set it up, and the band calls me up, and I'm like freaked out, you know, and I had no idea. And I remember getting up and playing with this band. I remember just being on stage, like, thinking, there was just, the light bulbs were going off, like, this is what I want to do. I mean, this was like, it was that clear in my head.
Felt right.
Yeah, it just felt right. And that night there was also another guy there that, he played guitar, but he played piano at the same time I did. And his name was Phil Rimward, and he and I got together, and for about 2 years we'd practice once a week. We'd get together and we'd just jam on a Thursday night. That's what we did. Maybe not 2 years, I don't know what it was, but so like a little bit goes by and we finally said, you know what, we should find a drummer, see if we can put something together. And we started this little trio, and I called it Swamp Yankee, which meant, I guess it means white trash down south. I don't know.
I never heard the term.
Yeah, Swamp Yankee.
Yeah.
And we had we just had this blast. And the first thing happens, I get a gig opening for Kansas. Like, they were opening up this thing, a little city called North Adams next to me up in where I am, and they were opening up this place called MoCA, which is a Museum of Contemporary Art, and they were trying to raise money to get the museum going and everything. So they were trying to bring people to the area where they're going to build it. And we get this gig opening for Kansas, and this starts, again, I'm on the stage, here I am, I'm going, and then there was not many places to play around where I was from, so I was like, I got to go somewhere where there's people. Obviously, you don't fish in streams that don't have trout, right? So I went to Albany, New York, and I started to get going. There's actually, somebody just posted on my wall, the first night I went to the first blues jam that they had over in Albany. The first time I ever got into Albany. It was really the gig that kicked it off to the next thing. So, I get up there, and then I end up bringing my band over, and we host a jam, and then I get a gig here, and then we're playing the Albany Blues Fest, and it just starts to go and go and go. And pretty soon we're starting to pack clubs in Albany, and it's starting to grow, and it's like, this is so much fun. And I'm a builder. I'm like, just getting up in the morning, we're going to work, and I'm playing gigs at night, and I'm like, it's just, I've been on this, I feel like George Jetson. You remember that, like, get me off this crazy thing? Yeah, that's what it is. It's always been like that. But
And you're still building it.
Yeah, it's still that way. I mean, I'm still, doing both. I love them both, but, the music keeps on growing. And
Can you pay the bills just by playing music?
I could if I did it full time.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. But I have two sons, 14 and 18 now, and it's like, I don't like being away a lot. I mean, I do. I love the music, and I love touring. I love playing. I just love the people. I love everything about it. But, your kids only get to grow up once.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
So, BB's, what, 90 now almost? Like, he's been doing it all those years. I'm a young 47 now, so I can see my kids through,
So some of these homes you're building are award-winning homes.
Yeah, we've won 8 national awards. I've won more awards for building than I have music,
But you design them too?
I don't really design them. We work with a lot of the top architects all over the country, and people build these. We're right where we are is where Williams College is, and it's a good place for second homes, things like that. That's where I've always, I'm fourth generation. That's what my family's always done.
That's good to have multiple things going
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the writing process. How is that for you?
Sometimes it's like 30 seconds, literally, and sometimes I can't write for months. I don't know when it comes or why it comes. It comes, but.
Does it come all different ways, like the melody sometimes, or you get the words, or is there any formula? Or
It all bases on an idea for me. It's like a simple, it'd be conversation. Somebody will say some phrase, and I'll be like, that phrase. And I always keep like a long list of, like I just did it tonight, changing strings. I keep my phone, and if I pick up a guitar and I do something, and this I learned after 10 years of losing my ideas.
Yeah.
I get the phone, I don't care. I just like hit record on my little voice memo, and I play the little lick that I had or whatever came to my head, and I capture it. And then when I get this idea, it usually just connect the dots with one of those. Sometimes, otherwise the idea might inspire me to play something too.
Right.
So, and once I get the idea, it's usually like I think about the message and the mood of the song, and then sometimes it just goes like that, and sometimes I'm like have an idea for, I have ideas now that I can't write a song about. So.
I kind of know that feeling, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were telling me about the next project, the next album, and are you writing for a subsequent album? I mean, are you always writing?
I'm always writing. I still have a big backlog of songs. Like this album, and I picked songs that kind of fit each other. You know, in the old days, they used to make an album that was a combination of.
There was a formula.
Yeah, there was there was a message of that, you know. And this one, you know, I'm not that thought out, but my songs, I kind of like fit them. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do all the same type of song. I mean, you got to save the slow ones, the fast ones, or whatever. You got to mix them up, and you got to, you know. So, yeah, I'm always writing. It doesn't matter. A lot of times I write on my pad in my truck. You know, I have one of those little note things, and I'll just be driving, and something will come on, or something will, whatever, and I'll just write the words down while I'm driving right there. So one time I wrote a song. I was sweeping a floor, living room, a plywood floor. I was sweeping this floor, and this song came to my head, and it's like, I went and pulled a window sticker off the wall, and I wrote the song on the window sticker. And I mean, you just you gotta get it while you got it, or you lose it.
What kind of gear are you using?
Yeah, guitar gear, you mean?
Yeah.
I play all Fender Strats. They really just stand up to what I do, and they're just my favorite guitars, anyways. I don't know.
You've tried others?
Yeah, I have, but what I like about them is they're flat, and it stems from when they play 5-string banjo, you anchor your bottom 2 fingers, so you're just picking with the 3.
Right.
So I started that anchoring with my guitar, with my hand. Like a lot of people tell me I don't have much movement in my wrist, like it's all like right there, and I do most of this with my elbow, and it all I think stems from that banjo, you know. But it's an effective way. I mean, it's like, but I do a lot of vamping, so I tend to whack all 6 and vamp, so you're not hearing them. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen anybody play guitar like I play it, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. That's the way I taught myself, and and it works for me. And people, you know, I get that a lot. Like, oh, you give lessons? You know, I was like, you're the one that can give the lessons for yourself. You know, that's the best way.
Yeah.
You don't want to learn to play like me. Don't want, you know, learn to play yourself.
You don't want to be the next Albert Cummings. You want to be you.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a quote says, "Be yourself because everybody else is taken," and that's a good. Oscar Wilde, I think, is the guy that quoted that.
Wow, the full education. Yeah. So what's something not many people know about Albert Cummings? I could ask you a lot of standard stock questions. But.
I don't know. I think I'm a pretty quiet guy. I mean, it's just like a, you know, regular everyday guy that's, you know, I think there's, you know, my wife says I have dual personalities, really, and I think she's right. You know, the guy that walks on stage is a whole different guy than you're talking to right now.
Is that not just does it, or is it just that you're bipolar?
No, she's
nice about it.
Yeah, you know, but I have many personalities too, right? It's got plenty of names for me, but yeah, I don't know. That's
pretty cool.
You know, it is because I don't. I usually am a member of the audience when I'm on stage. I know that sounds crazy, but
no, it doesn't.
Now you're getting to know that Albert Cummings is just crazy, you know. But something happens, I just go out, and I just like sit and listen to myself. I have no idea where it comes from, or I have no idea how it's got to where it's gone, and it's simply because I don't think about it. I just let it come. I don't block it, and I think I see a lot of guys that sit and think about what they're playing, you know, and all they're doing is thinking about what they learned from something else. They're not letting it come out of themselves.
Yeah, isn't music all about the feeling?
Yeah, it is to me. You know,
think so.
Totally.
Who are you listening to now? Who's out there now that you're listening to that you really like?
I love Delbert McClinton. You know, I mean, I listen to just about everybody. I go through this whole, you know, I still listen to Stevie sometimes. I love Muddy Waters. I love anything that grabs me, you know. Mm-hmm. And you can't get that on the radio today. You can't. I don't listen to radio. I mean, I'm so frustrated when I listen to radio. It's like if you know anything about music at all, you wouldn't listen to radio. You just wouldn't. I mean, and people, you know, they know all the songs and they know the words, and that's the hook of the radio. I mean, it's just this, and you spend some time in the studio, and you realize how fake it all is. I mean, you know, you realize that there's vocal pitch machines and there's everything to make everybody auto-tune this, and you know, and they say, oh, it was cut live and this and that. And so it's no, it's not. You know, it's like dubbed over and dubbed over and dubbed over and this and that, and you know, you say it's a 4-piece band, but you listen to you listen to the radio or they're listening to the CDs, and there's plenty of guys in the blues world now that's doing the same thing. Like, what is it? Like 15 pieces on there, 10 pieces on there. You're a trio. You're a 4-piece.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't
like,
even ever meet each other.
It's like, I can't listen to anything that I can know is fake. It just doesn't do anything for me. Like, I'd rather listen to blank air. Yeah. I really would. I'd rather sit there and just listen to nothing. It's very frustrating. But
well, you're getting known. Your stuff's getting out there.
Yeah, you know what I did is I stopped worrying about it. You know, I have fun no matter what. The people that come to our shows are usually, you know, pretty full or sold out or whatever. I mean, they're like, people like what we're doing, and I don't care. I mean, I just like what I do. I just did like, oh, I want to get here, I want to try to get this, and I got to get this, and I got to go over here, and my wife says, you're always pushing the universe. Just stop it. Just let it come. You know.
Well, you don't have that pressure of having to make the music work, right? Because you have a life outside music. I do. I mean, if I could play music full time, I surely would, but I can't find that balance where I'm not going to put my kid on the road with a tutor or something. You know what I mean? It's like that's not proper. 5 or 6 years, who knows?
Yeah, for me, it's like I got responsibilities. I mean, I started late. You know, I started when most people had given up and stopped. You know, so I got a little fortune cookie once, and it said, "Let reality be reality," and I keep it on my vanity. That's what I look at every morning. Let reality be reality. Period. That's what it is. Yeah, it is. Just, you know, don't fight it. Just let it happen. And since I've done that, like, everything starts to change. You know, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change, right? Yeah, and it's just like everything, like this album fell together. I mean, 2015 so far has been really cool. And we just got booked on the Blues Cruise. I wanted to go on that for years, you know. I'm really excited about that, and I can't wait for that. And I mean, we're starting to get these really good festivals and really good dates, and finally got an agent that's trying to push us out. And I think with this album, I mean, it's like, I think I'm the only guy on the album that hasn't won a Grammy, really. I mean, this is like, these guys are major league guys. I mean,
yeah, but they started where you were.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it was Reggie McBride on bass. He's Stevie Wonder's bass player. Tony Bronicle on drums, who's Robert Cray's drummer and Taj Mahal's drummer. And just about everybody else's drummer. I mean, that guy's been around and played with everybody. And then Mike McGonigal is the keyboard player, who's playing with Bonnie Raitt now, but was Joe Cocker's keyboard player before he passed, and then was Crosby, Stills and Nash for 15 years with them. I mean, just geniuses. Every one of them was just geniuses. So when we put this thing together, it's like, it was just like, you know, and we just like, you know, what was weird about it is usually in the studio, you're like, if you can track the band, you're okay. You've got a safety net, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, hey, the drums are good. Let's redo the bass. Or the bass was half good. Let's fix the bass here. Let's fix that little part. You know, you can pull in and out. You can pull all the pieces. Mm-hmm. You know, and we tracked it, all 4 of us. Bang, like, just like, it's awesome. That's good. And then we'd like, okay, let's see if we can beat it, and we'd play it like the second time. And I think 1 or 2 of them we tried 3 times. Every one we took the first take. That's like, to me, that's the realism I was talking about. Like, yeah, and there's some things on it, like, you know, I made up a verse on one of the songs because I didn't really have it. I needed another verse, and I made up a verse while we were going. And I was like, after we heard it back, I was like, that's fine. I like that. I like what I just said. That just came out during, you know what I mean? It was that type of magical thing that was like, I'm totally cutting live, making up a song in my head.
I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, and I just like, you probably tell I'm so pumped up about it, man. It's like, my first No Regrets debuted. You know, I didn't put No Regrets on an album or a label or anything. You know, I tried to put it out myself and just kind of take a break from the whole label thing and see what happens, because I wasn't touring enough to really feel like I was paying my responsibility to what a label needs. You know, and you got to tour. You got to be touring all the time. But Blind Pig's been very supportive. They're the first ones that gave me a shot, and they're still continuing, the guys that, you know, basically still believe in me and still like are excited about this stuff. And Jerry, well, you know, the partner of Blind Pig, I sent him one of the first tracks, and he's like, he calls up, he's like, "Oh my God, I love this track. I'm going to get a 12-pack." I was like, yeah, that's good. He was excited. Yeah, it was just, and the guys in the studio were just like, they'd sit there and listen to this stuff, and you know when things are happening in the studio, and you're like, all of a sudden people are like grooving, and you know, it's just like, it was like my first gig with Double Trouble. I remember like thinking they were going to be very calm and cool, and that's what I was expecting, and they were both, you know, it was like everybody was moving. It's like, you know.
Well, how amazing for you to, you know, have Stevie get you into guitar playing and then cut your first album.
Crazy. It's like still to this day, pinch me that ever happened.
Do you still play with them occasionally? You see them?
Not too much. I see him quite a bit. Tommy's
playing with, is he playing with Kenny Wayne Shepherd?
He's playing with Kenny Wayne, yeah.
Yeah, here they play here, I saw him.
Yeah. Chris is a great guy. Super. I mean, all of them. They give me such an education. I mean, that was like, I mean, I couldn't ask. That was like a doctorate degree in what to do. I mean, literally. I mean, every minute was a learning session, you know, and it's just like, I I probably had 50 gigs under me at the time. I go in the studio with Double Trouble. I mean, maybe 100. I don't know what I had.
Sure.
Like, you know, and then you go in there and they're like, yeah, we're bringing Reese down. And that made it the first time the whole band was together for an entire album with somebody. I was so freaked out. And Tommy Shannon joked that I had red light fever. Every time he's like, you play like mad, and then you turn to record like you freeze up. I'm like, I'm sitting here with you guys. Are you kidding me? Wouldn't you be nervous?
Yeah. Put the tape over the light.
Yeah. So when I came out of that, I was like, I'll play with anybody, you know. After that, nobody can scare me now. I don't care.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know, I mean, that was just amazing.
I'm going to let you take a little rest before the show tonight.
All right, yeah, we got to go back and
to the show.
Get showered up and stuff. I'm pretty run ragged here today.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate your time.
Hey, I appreciate it, and you know, thank you and thank everybody who's watching this. And
cool, thanks.
I hope to see you out there.